I know you're trying to drop the mic, but we're
No,
in
I'm not
agreement.
trying to drop the mic. I'm dropping
I'm just
facts.
saying we're in agreement. There's no argument from me. I'm just saying if you're gonna blow smoke on both sides. You point out.
Why?
No, but what I'm saying is you proved your point. There is no argument. We're on the same page.
I don't get it. Here's
There's
why. Because you keep saying if
no,
there's no argument, then you say, but blow
there was
smoke on both sides. Why would we blow smoke on both sides if we're voting 90% on one side? Tell me how that makes sense mathematically.
Why do we keep supporting people who don't deliver?
Because we like representation more than we like accountability, responsibility, and asking for tangibles. It's just that simple. We are traditional people, and if we get marketed to enough, we continue to believe the same BS. It's the reason why we didn't question or bat an eye when Joe Biden, who did not die, was removed from the top of the ticket, and they appointed Kamala Harris without any type of runoff, any type of primary. They just said she's going to be at the top of the ticket. And they said, well, Joe's fine. He just needs to do the work of the American people for the next 107 days. And we got absolutely hot trash truck juice. We like representation. When you go and say something like, hey, what has Jasmine Crockett done for the 20th district? What policies has she put forth other than yelling and screaming and saying orange man bad? Oh, Lord, you can't do that. We care about seeing a black face in a white space and in high place more than we care about what's happening in order to move our community forward. I've lived in 34 cities in 19 states, and everywhere I've been, there's been a Chinatown, a Koreatown, a little Italy, and everywhere I see densely populated black folks, with the exception of like Baldwin Hills and a couple of places outside of Martha's Vineyard, black people are concentrated in the hood. So what have we gotten for 60 years from Democrats that has done any good for us? We love representation. That's why we fell in love with Obama. We put racist ass Bill Clinton in office because he played a saxophone, ate fried chicken, and said he liked Aretha Franklin's song in her breasts. This is who we have been because that's all it takes. Now, what do? You get a high school dropout who was a gang member who became the de facto off the bench fifth or fourth king of comedy to tell you how you should feel about your political aspirations and who you should fall behind. This is who we've become, unfortunately. And there's not enough of us who are discerning individuals to say, nah, I'm good. That's why we keep getting, representation without any type of benefit or tangible.
Go ahead, Miss Takenison. I think you want to respond to what he said, or like you didn't agree with it.
Come on.
No, I'm just laughing because, like I said before, both sides are doing the same thing. But it does sound like, and this is just my opinion based on what you're saying now,
Sure.
is that the the points being made and people you putting out is intentionally democratic because I guess you're saying we don't need to vote democratic, but then looking on the red side, like you're talking about a man that has 34, indictments, a criminally being a criminal, grabbing women by the all of that kind of stuff. So you're saying the same thing, but you're saying the blue side hasn't done this and blah blah blah. But then you have issues with the red side as well, and that's why I say both of them do the same stuff, and then we try to make like one is better than the other, and neither are on either side. And then when you talked about being in a ghetto, you got to look at from that historically. Both red and blue put us there, right? Through redlining, and they all supported it. So you got generations of people that grew up in those areas and are finding it difficult to get out, just like other families passed on, or white families passed on their generational wealth because they were able to use the GI Bill, buy homes, and do all of those things. We were excluded from those opportunities. So, and both parties played into that. So that's why I was like, neither one of them are on our side. So when this whole push about dims this, but you don't have the balance of when he's saying, well, Reds were doing this too. To me, I just laugh at it because they are in bed with each other.
Do I have a moment to respond?
Yes, you do.
Okay, great. A few things. I live on Earth. I wish I lived in a utopia where everything was balanced and, like everybody else in the electorate, black people had representation on both sides. We truly do not, as black people historically for the past 60 years vote on average at least 90% in one particular direction. So if people are voting, our people are voting, and my people are my only concern right now, are voting 90% one way. Why am I wasting my time talking about the people we're not even voting for? I think we need to start bringing scrutiny to the people we have voted for the past 6 decades. I never once said blue bad, red good. I said that what has happened is we do not get anything tangible for the people that we vote for at a 90% clip. I got plenty of smoke for Donald Trump. If you knew me, you would know that on Saturday I went to an all Republican event and told black Republicans to their face, the problem with you is your messaging and none of you have any bass in your voice and you look like people whose lunch money I take. The truth of the matter is, we can't have a president. Since you want me to talk about the Republicans for a minute, and I'd be happy to because I do it all the time, we can't have a president who ran on America first and then is bailing out the Argentinian beef producers over American farmers. However, what people don't understand is a good 10 years before I was conceived, the Temptations had a song called Ball of Confusion where they said, vote for me and I'll set you free. And what wound up happening was we had people who constantly tell us how bad things are, how much of a victim we are, but they're going to stand at the gate and take on the big, scary Republicans that are causing all of the problems. But the truth of the matter is, everybody's in the same bed and everybody's having a good time with the orgy. However, we're voting one way all the time, expecting a different results. And last I checked, that is the clear definition of insanity. So if you can point to me how that has paid off for us, meaning we're talking about how bad the blue is because 90% of us are voting for the blue. If you can tell me in no uncertain terms what tangibles we have received over the past 60 years, and if you feel we're better off right now than we had when MLK got killed, after civil rights was passed, then I'll yield and say, you know what, keep voting for people who aren't doing anything for you. However, if we go independent, withhold our vote, and demand tangibles from whoever's going to put them on the table, that's a much stronger position than this week. Let's go ahead and, I don't know, take $1 billion and give it to Quavo, Megan Thee Stallion, Beyonce, and Kelly Rowland, and have people sitting around doing the nay nay and having a Fat Joe concert when folks are starving.
Let me just ask you one question. So in between those 60 years that you're talking about, what have Republicans done? And this is that's my general point.
No.
You do a 90% voting Democrat or 90% voting Republican. Between that time span, neither one has done anything for us. There were you had Reagan in there, and you know that has happened under Reagan. You've had other Republicans that were in there as well. What I'm saying, who has not done anything
That's
for
not
us.
the point,
Like
and
I
you're
said,
moving the needle.
no,
You're moving the goalpost. The question you asked the question, I
yeah, but
answered
that's
the
what,
question, and then
and
I
based on
asked
your
you,
answer,
show me how that has worked. Instead of saying, but what about the Republicans?
no,
Tell me
that's what
what that's worked for you for
I'm
60
being
years.
consistent. And what I was saying is that the time span that you gave, you said, what have Democrats done under that 60-year period? What I'm saying is I agree with you, but nor has Republicans. So in what I'm agreeing with is we have the two-party system, and I would like for us to go independent. But every time we get to vote, it's nobody's ever voting outside of red and blue. And I can speak for myself. I have, because I'm not loyal to either one. I could care less. I'm going to go in a direction that I feel like somebody supports what I'm in alignment with, and neither group has. But when we go to the polls, it's majority always blue, but if the other option isn't blue, it's always red. What I'm saying is, how can we get to a point where we're voting independently?
Again, this is not about either party. It's about demanding something from the people who are elected. I'll give you an example. When, depending on which version of history you'd like to use, when the Twin Towers came down, a lot of us didn't vote for George W. Bush. But at that particular point, America was like, yo, you're not the dude I voted for, but you the president. What are we going to do? Our communities are in ruin. They have been in ruin for 60 years under Democratic rule. Chicago, who's the mayor? Oh, isn't it Brandon Johnson? Who was the mayor before him? Lori Lightfoot, who was the mayor before her? Rahm Emanuel. Where did Rahm Emanuel come from? Oh, he was the chief of staff of the Obama White House, and Chicago had gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. Same thing with Philly. I'm from Philly, and in my lifetime, we have not seen anything other than Democratic rule. And look at what's happening in Philly. Look at what's happened in Kensington. Look at everything that has happened when it comes to the crime, drive-by shootings, all of these types of things that have not been addressed. What Democrats have given us over the past 60 years, almost willfully unchecked, is a system of benign neglect so that they can justify getting reelected for doing absolutely nothing. And all I'm saying is we need to scrutinize them. We spend more time scrutinizing who Blueface is sleeping with than we do what the people we vote for are actually doing with the money that they're voting for. Because while the government is shut down, all of the people who are elected are still getting their checks. I want something for my vote. That's not an unreasonable take. And if they have had the ball for 60 years and we ain't had a touchdown, you got to start saying that something's wrong. That's it. I'm not saying that there's not anything wrong on the red side, guys. I got plenty of smoke for them, but they're not the ones we turn to for help. They're not the ones we turn to for representation 90% of the time. So why would I spend 50% of my time talking about the people who ain't got nothing to do with the equation when it comes to you and I, and the people who do have 90% of what we have are not doing the job? That makes absolutely no sense to me. That's like if I got full-blown AIDS and I'm going to get chemo. I ain't going to get cured. I'm getting treatment, but it's not fixing my problem. I'm still waiting for the policy or the thing that has happened in the past 60 years that has developed an opportunity for Black people to thrive in education, in manufacturing, in farming, in any field of human endeavor where we dominate that does not involve a ball or a microphone. If we have that, I'll yield on them, but I'm giving too much smoke to Democrats.
I know you're trying to drop the mic, but we're
no. I'm not trying to drop the mic. I'm dropping facts.
I'm just saying we're in agreement. There's no argument from me. I'm just saying if you're gonna blow smoke on both sides.
Why?
No, but what I'm saying is you proved your point. There is no argument. We're on the same page.
I don't get it. Here's why. Because you keep saying if there's no argument, then you say but. Blow smoke on both sides. Why would we blow smoke on both sides if we're voting 90% on one side? Tell me how that makes sense mathematically.
Because you're still voting. You do have people that are voting on the other side as well. My whole point, I hear what you're saying. They're 90%. So that means 10% of voting Republican. What I'm saying is our 100%, you add them all up, neither side is doing anything. So I think the conversation needs to be around how do we move in terms of being more independent and not voting for either. If you say withhold your vote, you're not voting, and whoever wins anyway. So what I'm saying is offer someone else as a third opportunity instead of wasting the vote. Then
politically, that's immature and very short-sighted.
I'm sorry.
Politically, that's immature. That's suicide. You're doing the exact that
voting. What's the difference between? I'm honestly, school me, because what's the difference between if you say withhold your vote and not vote at all?
Withholding your vote makes more sense than voting for someone that does nothing for you. Mistaken. That doesn't even align with a regular idea. Like, why would I vote for someone that does nothing for me? I would rather just not vote at all.
Third party. I didn't say that. For me, that's not what say me personally. I
don't think that's what he said. I think that's what True. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not what he said, Miss.
Exercise my right to vote. I just won't vote for either one and vote for the third party.
No,
to me, withholding my vote is
that's not what he said. That's not what he said. What he said is that we need tangibles for wherever we cast our vote. So whether it's red or blue, we need tangibles. What's occurring is that we are reoccurring in a vote heavily on one side with no result, with no response, and then doing it 4 years after that, and then 4 years after that. There's no, what are we getting? So at some point, it's not a red, it's not a blue. As a community of individuals, we need to figure out what we want, demand it, and enforce it. So it doesn't matter if it's red or blue. It really doesn't.
It matters who delivers it.
Yeah.
That's it. We just want somebody that's going to deliver it. Gay people have people on both sides of the aisle. If you think I'm lying, explain Bruce. I mean Caitlyn Jenner. Everybody hedges their bets except for us. That's why they have brought all these illegals in to replace us, because they gave illegals the stuff they were supposed to give us. If you look at what happened, Brandon Johnson in Chicago, for example, took money out of the COVID relief fund earmarked for black people, said he wasn't going to listen to the feds, and then put all of these illegals in densely populated black sections of Chicago. That's why when you saw the black people who were zip tied, they were zip tied because ICE was raiding the building where all the illegal Tren Araguas were. So when cops come in, they got to sort all that good stuff out. And that's what winds up happening. That's why you got those groups like Chicago Flips Red. And you see all those city council meetings where them black folks is like, hey, yo, you out your mind. What about us? We paid taxes and you just throwing these people in here. We've been on waiting lists for housing, all this whole other stuff. No, we go in there and say, are you going to do this for us? No. Okay, cool. Are you going to do this for us? Yeah. Okay. You're getting our vote and you're getting our check. That's how that works. But going 90% one way and not getting anything for it, not putting any finances behind it, and not holding them to the fire when they do not deliver is insane. And for 6 decades, we've been singing that song and dancing that dance, and all we got is sore throat and sore feet. Period, point blank.